we are going to keep saving lives by using the effective tools at our disposal.
Mask up or vax up, those are the two big announcements from Washington Governor Jay Inslee today. Mask mandates are back starting on Monday, regardless of vaccination status, and all teachers in the state of Washington must get a vaccine if they want to keep their jobs. Good evening and thank you for joining us for Krempton News at 10 tonight. I'm Mark Hanrahan. Washington state now has the strictest vaccine mandates in the entire country. Everyone who works inside of a school must get a vaccine or face termination. Plus, statewide, everyone must also wear masks inside regardless of vaccination status. That starts on Monday. Now, this all comes as hospitals across the state are at or nearing capacity with the Delta variant bulldozing through Washington. Krempton News' Ian Smay in the newsroom tonight to break down what the announcement means for you.
The two big takeaways from Governor Jay Inslee's announcement are the return of the indoor mask mandate starting next Monday and a vaccine mandate for almost all K-12 and higher education employees. Now let's start with that mask mandate that is going back into effect. Like I said, that will go back into effect Monday, and it will apply to everyone regardless of their vaccination status. This mask mandate applies to almost all indoor spaces like restaurants, bars, and other businesses. There are some places that won't have to institute mask mandates though, and those include offices without public access, places where people work alone and don't interact with the public, and small private gatherings among fully vaccinated people. The Department of Health is also recommending masks for people in crowded outdoor areas, but that is not a mandate at this time. All of this is coming at a time where the state is seeing a surge in cases and hospitalizations.
This week, our state broke its previous record for COVID hospitalizations set in December. The rate is, as I said, spectacularly almost vertical in our charts. We're witnessing exponential growth. I've not used that term in some months, but regrettably, that is now the situation that we are in.
Leaders at the state and local levels have said that about 95% of people hospitalized with COVID are unvaccinated. And with that, let's move on to that vaccine mandate for educational employees. That will apply to basically everyone who works in a K-12 or higher education job. It won't apply to students though, with some younger students still not eligible for a vaccine. Those employees must be fully vaccinated, so 2 weeks past that final shot by October 18th. Inslee emphasized that this requirement will be enforced harshly, saying get a vaccine or you will be fired.
That will involve days, not months, where if people do not come in compliance, that they will be discharged. And that will apply to all the personnel that are associated with this protocol, be they state employees or in the K-12 or college system. And there will be a formal process of their discharge.
This comes after State Superintendent Chris Rakedahl asked Inslee last week to include K-12 schools in the vaccine mandate. Now, there are still some medical and religious exemptions, and we should also note that this also applies to people like substitute teachers, coaches, volunteers, and more. Inslee also said unions can negotiate to get their employees time off to get the vaccine or deal with its side effects, but one thing that isn't up for negotiation is offering a testing option for those who don't want to get vaccinated. Inslee has said that will not be allowed. Now, one thing to note is that in order for educational workers to be fully vaccinated by Governor Inslee's deadline, they'll need to get that last shot no later than October 4th. Inslee was adamant that these steps are being taken in order to not have to shut down schools or the economy again like we saw last year. In the newsroom, Ian Smay, Krempton News.
Superintendent of Public Instruction Chris Rakedahl also spoke at today's press conference, saying the vaccine and mask requirements are the best way to ensure that schools stay open this fall. And on the same day of this announcement, statewide protests against masks in schools. Krempton's Morgan Trow is live in the studio tonight. She spent the day downtown and has more now on those protests. Morgan?
Mark, protesters took to the streets across the state, including in Spokane today. Parents opposed to the vaccine and mask mandates say they just want the freedom to choose whether to wear a mask or get the vaccine. On the other hand, parents who support the governor's announcement today say they want the freedom to not get COVID and die. After the new announcement that all K-12 educators, staff, coaches, bus drivers, and school volunteers need to be fully vaccinated, a protest was held by Lewis and Clark High School, where people like Steve Braun voiced their concern with the new mandates.
You know, if Inslee has this wrong and I get vaccinated, I'm only hurt for maybe 20 years. But one of my sons could suffer with the consequences of his poor decisions for 70 years.
On the other side of the issue is Casey Balzano. She's a mother, supports the governor's mandates, and doesn't understand why some people are so opposed to them.
It just seems so selfish, so self-centered. and I just have zero tolerance for it.
Graduating with a bachelor in science and now working in healthcare, Balzano says her 15-year-old son doesn't mind wearing a mask at all. She credits his perception of the mask to her teaching him about the benefits of it when facing COVID-19.
Anything to keep them in school, I think that we should promote, and masks work. Being vaccinated works. My child understands what's required of him, and it's not that hard to do.
The state's vaccine mandate expansion includes public, private, and charter schools, but does not include any students or tribal schools. Spokane Public Schools had already announced last week that they will be requiring masks for everyone, students included.
And I think that people are giving themselves a lot more credit on thinking they know what they know. Trust the professionals. No one's trying to murder anyone. Except COVID. COVID's trying to kill people. And it's mutating until it can kill everybody.
Balzano hopes that with this mandate, more lives will be saved. She adds that having to wear a mask is nowhere near as bad as dying, spreading the virus to others, or even just having virtual learning. The educators and staff have until October 18th to be fully vaccinated or they will lose their jobs. As for the anti-mask protesters, they say today wasn't their last protest, but they're planning more downtown this week. In the studio tonight, Morgan Traub, KREM 2 News.
Morgan, thank you very much. And today's new vaccine requirements will also have a big impact on athletics around the state, as this requirement also applies to all coaches at all levels, including college. Brenna Green joins us now in the newsroom to break down what's next for WSU's head football coach Nick Rolovich and other coaches around the state.
We're going to start with Rolovich, who is not vaccinated and has said his reasons will remain private. It's widely believed his reasons are of the personal variety and not related to medical or religious exemptions, which will be the only way employees can avoid receiving the vaccine. Rolovich is the highest paid employee in the entire state of Washington, with his salary last year being $3,195,500, which means if he were to submit a medical or religious exemption, that would be heavily investigated by the state. Inslee said the reason why he included coaches in the mandate is that they are viewed as educators and thus will be treated as such. This is what WSU had to say today after Inslee's statement. Quote, "We applaud the efforts of Governor Inslee to protect the health and safety of the people of Washington. Washington State athletics, including staff, coaches, and student athletes, will continue to follow all campus, local, state, Pac-12 and NCAA guidelines related to health and safety surrounding COVID-19, and we will work to ensure the mandates in the governor's proclamation are followed." Rolovich was asked last week if he would consider getting the vaccine if Inslee announced a vaccine mandate. Here's what he had to say.
We're doing everyday testing. We're following all the rules that are put in place, and I don't know what exactly it's going to say, but it's something definitely to always consider.
Rolovich is expected to be made available to the media tomorrow morning around 10:30. We will be there and will be providing updates. On to the high school level, where this vaccine mandate will affect thousands of coaches across the state. Today was the first day of high school football practice in Washington, and I was at Mount Spokane this morning. I asked head coach Terry Clower, who is vaccinated, what effect a vaccine mandate would have on his profession if Inslee were to announce such a thing.
You look at guys in the NFL, we're stepping down. We're stepping away from their jobs because of it. And, and that's $1 million jobs. We get, pennies for the hour. And so I'm sure there's going to be a lot of coaching shuffle that's happening.
Coaches, like everyone else, have until October 5th to start the vaccination process, and we will see if the turnover is as prevalent as Coach Clower anticipates. That's it for sports.
So who exactly will be enforcing these requirements? Governor Inslee says his proclamation is a legally binding document, so employers and business owners have no choice but to comply. That includes following the indoor mask mandate and the vaccine requirement where it applies. The governor says being fully vaccinated is a job requirement for most state employees. A formal discharge process will begin October 5th, he said. The governor also adds that the vast majority of anyone let go will not be eligible for unemployment. Those announcement comes as a Spokane Regional Health District posted startling new data today. They reported 347 new COVID cases today alone. That is the second highest number of reported cases just this month. And what may be even more startling is that 165 people are currently hospitalized in the county with COVID. Governor Inslee said today that 95% of people hospitalized in Washington with COVID are not vaccinated. 2 new deaths were also reported today. Heading now to North Idaho, where 92 people are hospitalized across Idaho's 5 northern counties due to the virus. 111 new cases also reported today. There have been 350 COVID deaths in North Idaho since the pandemic began. And just today, Kootenai Health said they are nearing capacity with COVID patients. According to the hospital, 85 people are hospitalized there right now, 36 of which require critical care. And because the high number of patients, they have been forced to cancel all elective surgeries because they just don't have the capacity to hold them right now. 50% of hospitalizations are patients who range from 18 to 60 years old. Now compare that with the winter surge. That same age range accounted for just 20% of hospitalizations. Now we know this was a lot of information, so we have made it easy for you to get even more. You can always check krem.com or just text us the word COVID to 509-448-2000 and we'll send a link with the information directly to your phone. All right, taking a break from the headlines for a moment to talk weather. It was dramatically cooler today compared to what we have been seeing this entire summer. Meteorologist Thomas Patrick joining us from the Outdoor Weather Center tonight. And Thomas, aside from the cooler weather this week, it's also smoke-free tonight.
Yeah, it's actually been really enjoyable just sitting waiting for my time to broadcast here on the 10 o'clock news because our air quality is in the good range right now. It is smoke-free. It honestly feels so pleasant out for tonight. Going to be opening the windows for sure for this evening just to get a little bit of fresh air inside as well. And the winds have been relatively calm out of the south at 6 miles per hour. There's where we stand. Good air quality as of this moment. Tomorrow I'm going moderate for the forecast, which is still acceptable because there's not going to be widespread smoke, but there are still a number of very large fires across the region. So we will be keeping tabs on any small wind shifts and any localized impacts that those fires might be having on our region. There's yesterday's weather system actually helped to eliminate a lot of that wildfire smoke that we saw from yesterday, giving us that good air quality. But tomorrow a little bit warmer overall. Temperatures topping out in the low 80s expected for this Thursday, but pretty cool temperatures heading into the weekend, along with another rain chance as well. More on that in just a few moments.
Talk to you then, Thomas. Thank you very much. New tonight, the first Asian giant hornet's nest discovered right here in Washington will be on display now at the Smithsonian. Right now it's on display at the Northwest Washington Fair in Linden, Washington. It is being called Nest Zero, and it is teaching people about the invasive species. One beekeeper at the Northwest Washington says it's been one of the most popular booths at the fair. For the past 6 months, the nest has been studied at several universities. Idaho student test scores have dropped compared to 2019. Today, the Idaho Department of Education said the data isn't surprising due to pandemic-related school disruptions. The biggest decline was seen in math skills, with 39% of students at the proficient or advanced level. Now that's compared to more than 44% just 2 years ago. However, English was one of the test scores that remained pretty consistent. 54% of students this year performed at the proficient or advanced level, compared to 2019, where it was 55%. Still ahead tonight, the latest on the crisis in Afghanistan, why President Biden is sticking behind his decision, and how the Taliban have already broken their promise. Plus, later on, we have the latest on the fires burning across the inland Northwest. We are back in just 90 seconds.